Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Julia Black, author, entrepreneur, and creator of transformational framework Lights On. Please enjoy Julia Black. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Julia Black, author, entrepreneur, and creator of transformational framework Lights On. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be here.
I am excited to chat with you today about all of these things that show up in your life and how creativity informs them. But before we get started, why don't you take a couple of minutes and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm over here based in the UK, west of England. I'm used to be a filmmaker, and then when motherhood came along, I realized I was going to make a choice between being hands-on with my family rather being off somewhere making my films, documentaries I made. And it was really that motherhood, and when my children started school in particular, that set me on this path deep into creativity, and in particular into creative energy and how that helps us flourish as human beings. And that was now my children are now, my daughter's 21, nearly 22, and my son's just turned 19. So it's been a quest and an adventure that I can now look back and really think that by making that decision to stop one creative avenue of filmmaking, it opens up a whole new adventure for me. And for me, that is really what creativity is about. It's about following that intuition that, where does life kind of take you? Where are the breadcrumbs leading you?
I love that. And amazing. Following your intuition, following breadcrumbs and seeing where it takes you. I wonder, could you tell us a little bit about your transformational framework, Lights On? So what is that?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've become pretty obsessive about human flourishing. And I believe that we are all born with a natural gift that we've come here to explore and express. And when I started working, well, when my daughter started school at age 4, what I realized is she went from being this hugely creative, curious child, and suddenly became very frustrated and angry. And so I started getting very involved in the school and realized that actually what the children were lacking was a time for them to explore the thing that lights them up. I mobilized the whole school community. I brought my director skills in a way, and we directed a circus. So 106 children, we got them all performing in a big top circus, mobilized the parent community to bring out all of their creative skills that they hadn't been using for a long time, because, we're told like, oh, that's never going to make you money. You go this route. We won an award for it, and that's really what sparked me up. And I knew why I was here. I knew I was here to help people shine, for them to find that thing that lights them up. And I set up my own creative learning center. And I was having this meeting with a business strategist about like how we could measure or how I could help my team know when we were on track, really getting the children learning and growing and flourishing. And he said to me, like, well, how do you know when it happens? And I said, well, because you see it in their eyes. It's like their lights have come on. And then it was like, well, there you go, lights on, lights off. And that was back in 2016. And where I've ended up now is this, it's a very useful tool. I have a lights on spectrum that helps us calibrate to be able to use our creative energy and get into that flow state, but also use the moments when we're in darkness to fuel and grow and explore where our edges are. So Lights On is really a state of being. It's what we're thinking and what we're feeling, which causes us to behave or express ourselves in a certain way. And the beauty of what I've discovered is, yes, we want being lights on, joy and gratitude and abundance and love. But actually, we also want the lights off times too, with the frustration, the anger, sometimes the despair.
Mm.
Um, and when we know how to harness our human technology and can use what we feel within our body to calibrate, that's when we really begin to step into our creativity as human beings on a whole nother level. So it's really it's really a way of being, and I have a tool to help us calibrate so that we can express ourselves to our fullest.
That is amazing. And I love this simplicity is maybe not the correct word, but the
Yeah.
simplicity of lights on, lights off that anyone can really understand, that you make that connection to creative expression, creative experience, and creative process all within those two phrases. That,
Exactly. And I think that's what I love about it is that, children as young as, so I work with now, I have an online community and I work with families in particular to kind of get them really engaging in learning and growing
Mhm.
in quite exponential ways. And I love the fact that it could be, a 4-year-old gets it. In my book, Lights on Learning, where I quote a 4-year-old who talks about, lights on is like having rainbows in my heart. And for me, that just sums it up, from a
Yeah.
4-year-old's perspective, like how awesome is that to feel like, yeah, because we all look at a rainbow and we stop in our tracks, right? And we go, wow,
Mhm.
look at that. And so to feel that, I love that expression. And I think that's what is exciting about the work, that actually it's available to us all, whatever our
Mhm.
age, whatever our educational level, whether we're neurodiverse or neurotypical.
Yeah.
If we really tune into that thing that really lights us up and we feel it and people see it in our eyes and we sense it within our bodies,
Mhm.
then then that's really good for not only for our learning, growing and flourishing, but it's amazing for our mental well-being.
Yeah. Well, I'm so curious, how did your journey begin from your childhood? Like, what's your earliest memory of being creative yourself?
So I guess I grew up I had a very privileged upbringing, and it was probably more physical than
Mm.
creative. But my father was a social entrepreneur. So I guess I saw the creativity through entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
through ideas. And I used to love writing, but it was only really when I was 40, sitting backstage at that circus that I just directed, where I truly owned that I was a creative person.
Mm.
Because before that, I thought it was, well, you either were good at art or you were,
Hmm.
a dancer or a singer. And I was none of those. And it was really my route into, well, filmmaking, I guess, was the first time. And it was like, oh, my creativity is storytelling. I love telling stories.
Hmm.
My creativity is being able to craft a narrative, that takes someone through, someone's story. So that was the sort of the first opening, but I don't think I fully owned it until um, I sat back of that stage of the circus and realized what I had enabled other people to
Hmm.
do, a whole school community to
Hmm.
absolutely, light up and shine. And I
Hmm.
realized that my creativity really lies in ideas, holding a vision, being very
Hmm.
bold. And also, what I think is quite interesting, being prepared to fail over and over again, because I know my creativity lies beyond what I already know. So it is in the unknown.
Hmm.
And that's a place I like to hang out, beyond my edge.
I love hearing that because you don't hear that often. Often it's oh, the unknown is what keeps me from fully engaging or expressing creativity. So how did you befriend the unknown and come to partner with it?
Yeah, well, again, right back in my childhood, the family culture of learning within my home was very much failure friendly. So
Mm-hmm.
we were always doing things we couldn't do, whether it was on a motorbike, a horse, or rope swings. So I guess I grew up kind of always never been able to quite do the thing that I could do, especially being a younger sibling. But it was also really when I opened my creative learning center
Mm.
where I kind of really realized the rigidity, I guess, of where children can be and adults in terms of getting scared of failure. So fear of failure is rife today,
Hmm.
not only in the adults I coach, but also in the children that I had come through my center. And the beauty of my lights on spectrum is we know when we're getting scared because our lights go off, right? We
Hmm.
feel it. We suddenly feel anxious and tense, or we might feel sick in our stomach. And that's really our sign that we're like, oh, we're about to step into the unknown. And
Mm.
we can learn to reframe that from one of where I'm going to feel shame or embarrassment or be humiliated to one of, oh, I'm about to learn something new. And so when we reframe learning and embed failure or making mistakes as such an essential, inherent part of learning,
Hmm.
especially through creativity, we used to see, and we still see, amazing transformations in the children, teenagers, or adults,
Hmm.
because it suddenly gets to the heart of what's stopping us really truly express ourselves as
Yeah.
creative beings.
Mm.
And I think we are all creative, and really what being lights on is, and my lights on learning framework is about finding that thing where you are, I call it the heart set,
Mm.
finding that thing where you will be the boldest.
Mm.
So often we make the mistake that we work on the mindset first. Oh, you're scared of failure. Okay, well, let's get you doing things that you don't enjoy and pushing you over the edge, and gritting your teeth and building up that resilience with determination. But
Hmm.
actually, when I call it their switch, when we find the switch and we activate the heart set, we become very courageous. And so I
Mm.
talk about courageous vulnerability, where we really kind of go. I like to say our hearts will always dream bigger than our heads are ready for, and that for me is really the balance of
Mm.
once we lock into a dream and start expressing ourselves through our heart set, it's saying to our brains, you better catch up because I'm not stopping.
Mm.
Yeah, it's for me, failure is an emotional wound, but I'm on the camp of says, let's embrace it rather than say there's no such thing as failure. I just say,
Mm.
bring it on, let's fail fast, let's fail forward, and let's learn from what we discover by what we
Yes.
can't do.
So in your experience, when you're faced with challenges, does it feel like a challenge or does it feel like just an everyday experience that you're moving through because of how you view it?
No, it feels like a challenge. I
I'm
think
so
this is
glad to
the
hear
kind of,
that.
yeah, this is the beauty of lights off. It's like, yeah, we can go into darkness,
Hmm.
and we can want to give up, and we can cry, and we can have the tantrum, and we can find all those excuses. We can procrastinate, we can get into overwhelm, all the kind of things that our brain will do to keep us safe,
Hmm.
right? And so that's the valuable part of my framework. When we are lights off, we know that we're in fear.
Mm.
And the growth of anyone I work with or who uses my technology, it's really about being able to be in that fear, but with love still resonating.
Mm.
So I talk, so the highest, I have 6 signatures in my lights on framework that range from darkness and dimness, glimmer. Those are the 3 lights off. So different stages, one stepping outside my comfort zone might be comfortable, it might just be like, oh, it's a little bit of a challenge. But others could take me right into that darkness where I just
Yeah.
don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. I don't want to express myself. And then the lights on signatures are glow, brilliance, and radiance. And what's been amazing in my community is realizing that when we connect to radiance, we can
Mm.
hold ourselves in darkness with loving self-compassion. And that's a game changer, because whilst it
Mm.
still hurts to fail and to have a challenge that feels insurmountable, we can we can lead ourselves through it,
Hmm.
with much more humility, really.
Amazing. I love the stages that I mean the I'm putting this into my own life and my own experience and the clients that I work with, and primarily adults, but how halting that lights off space can be and how to, you know, open up or turn the lights on, or if you had a dimmer switch, turn up the light just a little bit to step out of that complete darkness. For people who really struggle to feel creative or find their creative spark or their heart space, how do you encourage them to do that? In my experience, there's many walls that we have to move through and work around.
Yeah, I think I mean, again, I like to always make things as simple as possible. And so whenever I've started working with, I work in particular with mothers,
Mm.
I kind of ask them, what was it if they've lost that connection, if
Hmm.
the heart set has kind of been shut down, and often it is through motherhood, or often it is if we, even if we're not a parent, but
Hmm.
life has taken us in a different direction. It's like, what was the thing that you used to love doing? And
Mm.
what's so beautiful about that is I don't think I've ever really met someone who didn't, when you can really help them lead that. Remember a time in your life, once you've defined how it feels to be lights on,
Hmm.
remember what was it you were doing as a child? And so it's really that essence within you
Mm.
that is wanting to be expressed. And to, again, which is, I'm sure you know a lot with your community and your audience, but really get clear on what creativity is for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you've got some rigid definitions like I did, which
Hmm.
is, well, I don't dance. I don't, well, I actually do dance now, but I don't act, sing or draw. And really start to kind of look at, how do you express yourself? Maybe you're a storyteller, maybe you're a digital wizard, maybe you're a
Mm.
wordsmith or a mathematician or a scientist. What is it that really gets you excited, because and that you find easy? Because I
Hmm.
worked with one mother and I gave them a brief to I can't remember what the actual brief was now, but anyway, she came back with a poem as her chosen way of kind of expressing herself, and it was amazing.
Mm.
And I remember saying to her, like, I would love to hear your reflections on the creative process, as you're writing the poem. And she said, well, that won't take long because it took me about 5 minutes. It came so easy that I just dismiss it. And that's
Mm.
what I'm always looking for. It's the thing that you find comes so easy to you, that you love doing, that perhaps you have not given any value to because it doesn't feel hard.
Hmm.
And I think we grow up in a culture, don't we? The old school paradigm for me is very much like, you got to work hard, you got to put the effort in, and it's got to hurt. And
Hmm.
really, Lights on Learning is about, actually, when we find that thing that we can do with ease, we create
Mm.
flow, and there is no pushing or pulling. There's just a natural evolution of how we grow.
I love that added piece, the ease to it, because I think you're correct. And many people have that old paradigm narrative of you have to work hard, it has to suffer, or you have to suffer in some way to get to the upper echelon of where you want to be creatively. And I disagree with that, and it sounds like you do as well. So it's nice to
Yeah,
hear it.
100%. I've lived a lot of my life in that model, and that very masculine sort of energy of,
Mm.
push on through, grit your teeth, fall
Hmm.
down, take the punch, get back up.
Yeah.
And I'm hugely resilient because of the way I grew up. But I had a burnout and descended into darkness using my own kind of framework. And I just, yeah, I went, I was about, how old was I? Maybe it was nearly 50. I'm 56 now, but yeah, I just went back home to my mum and lay in bed for 4 days and cried.
Mm.
And it wasn't really until my sister asked me, you know, how serious is this, Julia? And what are you going to choose to do? And
Hmm.
me kind of going, I don't have a choice, because I wanted to close my centers because I just felt it was overwhelming me.
Mm.
And she said, well, you do have a choice. And that
Hmm.
was really powerful for me, because it reminded me that, yes, I have a choice. I don't have to let go of the thing that's in lit up in me now,
Mm-hmm.
human flourishing, learning and growing. And I don't have to put everything that I have learned up to this point to one side, I guess, like I had done with my filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
but actually it could take a different form. And so I
Mm.
think even when we are in those darkest moments, our creative energy is waiting, going, come on, switch me on. We can do this. We
Mm.
can find a solution. And that to me is really the beauty of being human, that sometimes it hurts and oftentimes it hurts actually, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's glorious, and
Mm.
about finding that balance.
Yeah, and I hear there's also have surrounded yourself with people who are going to ask difficult questions or and kind of challenge you to turn the lights back on, so to speak, in that what has that always been a part of you? Is your community such that people you're always having people say different things or challenging you on things, or what is that community involvement in your process?
Yeah, I think the thing that I love to do most, more than anything, and I think my gift is, and I don't know how I've got it, but I do, is being able to very quickly get to the essence of someone and see where they need to express themselves creatively.
Mm.
I'm also, I do attract a community of people who want to grow, who are hungry to grow. I'm a very strong coach. Not much gets past me, and I can hold space for someone to sit in fear.
Mm.
And the part that I love doing, because of how it unlocks human flourishing, is sit with them whilst they walk through fear.
Yeah.
And I, in fact, even in my community, I do a masterclass, every month, a sort of a coaching dive. And even last week, it was beautiful, really, because I walked a mother through some shame that she was feeling, and you could
Mm.
see it dissolve in her on the call. And
Mm.
so yes, it's, for me, creativity is about acknowledging and accepting I'm up for the adventure, and I'm going to be challenged, and I will want to quit many times. But if I have people around me who are showing me that they can fall down and feel it hurts too and get back up, and if I
Mm.
can have a framework that is really simple and easy to use, and a coach or a mentor like me, then wow, the sky's the
Mm-hmm.
limit. And that's what's exciting. My community locks into growth spirals. So
Hmm.
while sometimes it can feel we're back at square one because we're thinking and feeling the same thing, actually, when we've activated and the learning circuitry that I call the heart set, mindset, and skill set, we are always growing in a spiral. So it's not that we're
Mm.
back at the same place. Might feel like it, but we're at a higher elevation. And so I guess just, yeah, growth for my community is a beautiful thing.
Mm.
Um, and it's something that they embrace. And to be surrounded by mothers who are absolutely prepared to shine so their family can follow, and
Mm.
shine too, is actually, it's a beautiful privilege, really.
Mm-hmm. I think this is amazing work that you do, and I can't wait to learn more about it. And the processes that we've talked about sound incredibly helpful for so many people. I'm curious for individuals who may just be starting on this journey, what's a few tips or a few pieces they could start with to turn their lights on.
So they could do a curiosity audit. I love a curiosity audit, which is really where you start to kind of look and go, well, what am I curious to discover? Because that naturally opens up your creative energy. And what you can do is you can kind of drill down. So it might be, for example, I want to learn to make cakes. So that would be a high level.
Mhm.
But you can then drill down, actually, I want to get specific and vegan cakes. So you can kind of drill down so that your curiosity has some parameters around which you can explore. Because I'm a great believer that to really flourish with our creative energy, some structure
Mhm.
is really valuable. So I would start there, just like, what are you curious to learn and explore? And if you were creating something tangible that you or me would be able to see
Mhm.
or hear or touch, what would that be? And
Mm,
that will immediately open up to, well, it might be, so for my example, my son, when he was 7, it was clear he was a digital wizard. He was very good at filmmaking. I'm a filmmaker, his father's a filmmaker, his grandfather's a filmmaker, so no real surprise. My daughter, when she was 6, I discovered she was a wordsmith. So when
mm,
we kind of know the way we would like to bring something from our hearts and our minds into physical manifestation, what would that look like?
mm,
So those two, curiosity, audit, and then, yeah, what would be the choice of what you would create
mm,
if you were bringing something that we can't see because it's in your heart and mind into physical form, um, in some shape or other. And then the other thing, if we're really not clear on that, is just to start exploring. So
mm,
again, yeah, if it was Lego that you loved when you were young, maybe there's a problem solver engineer kind of switch within you. If maybe
mm,
you're a maker and you love using your hands, and to get the cardboard out, become
mhm,
playful again, basically
mhm,
become playful and become open up and reconnect with that childlike spirit. So
mhm,
recently, for example, for me, I've reconnected with my love of musicals. I loved musicals when I was growing up, and also loved dressing up. And so
mm,
I've started really reconnecting with that part of me that is quite flamboyant, loves to dress up, and wishes I was living my life as a musical or in a musical. And it's been really liberating because it's my little childlike self going, thank you. I
mhm,
got put on hold for quite a long time. So I think those would be my
mm,
sort of tune into curiosity, get a little bit of creative expression in tangible form going,
mhm.
and yeah, and really start to explore.
Thank you so much for all of these tips and very concrete ways people can take that first step into turning lights on for their own creative experience. I just have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Oh, I love that question. There's two sort of uh energies I
Mm,
feel. Brilliance, which is one of my lights on signatures, is when I'm in almost like a hyper creativity, and I'm
mm,
kind of I'm in flow. I'm not thinking. It feels like I'm channeling. I'm
mhm,
just like, my mind is like going really, really, really fast. I'm just feeling absolutely one. So
mm,
that for me is brilliance. And then the other one is radiance. And what I've learned for myself, and actually my community also, is radiance feels a lot calmer. It feels
mm,
much more peaceful and gentle, but it is this sort of, it's when I know my creative energy is flowing,
mm,
and not necessarily being expressed, but it's alive.
mm.
So brilliance for me is when I'm expressing my creativity and bringing it out into physical form, and radiance is when I've got this gentle knowing that
Ah,
I'm here doing what I'm meant to do, and I feel good and I
mm.
love being who I am.
Oh, I can feel both of those as you were describing them. So I love that experience of the knowing of the creative energy and expression. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. If people
Thank
want to
you.
learn more about your work and your book, how could they go about doing that?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is at The Lights on Mum across the socials on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. My book is called Lights on Learning, A Parent's Blueprint for Happy, Fulfilled, Curious Kids. And
Hmm.
you can get that in any of your chosen bookstores if you might need to order it in. And yeah, and my website is lightsonuniverse.com.
Perfect. Well, I will put all of that in show notes so people have very easy access. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.